Things are things. This is Dave coming to you live with another episode of And Another Thing with Dave. So, I'd like to talk to you today about ISIS and the war on terror, and they seem to be the new forefront of the war on terror. They've taken over the limelight from Al Qaeda. Just watching an amazing program by investigative reporter Ben Swann, Swann, and he's got a program called Truth in Media, and the episode is The Origins of ISIS, and you can check that out right here on YouTube. Highly recommend it. Very informative. Lots of great information. And he points out that ISIS was primarily armed by vehicles and weapons that the U.S. just abandoned and left behind in Iraq and other places. I guess they brought some of them home and sold them to local police departments, as we all know. But they just left a bunch of this equipment abroad. So, go figure. It seems once again that the U.S. foreign policy is to create a problem so they can then offer a solution for said problem. So let's rewind a little bit and go back to the beginning of the Iraq War. There's a fantastic documentary that goes in depth into how we set up the transitional government to fail. It's called No End in Sight, and you can see that, I'm sure, right here on YouTube or on Netflix. And it's fantastic, very informative. Highly recommend that one as well. It shows how, we send the head ambassador down to Iraq. He doesn't speak Farsi. He gets to an office that has no furniture, no telephones, no translators. And this is the guy that's supposed to set up the interim government. So it was completely set up to fail from the get-go. The first thing he did when he got to Iraq was fire all the military and the police. So create total mayhem, anarchy, and chaos so that we can justify bringing in troops. It's exactly what happened. It's documented. There's a great documentary about it. Please watch it. Another one that shows how we led how our foreign policy led to this climate is Taxi to the Dark Side, and it goes in depth into torture, our techniques of torture, and how screwed up it was, and how many people died and just were tortured for no reason other than to foment hate against us, so that they would fight us, so that then that conflict gives us a justification to maintain our presence there. It's the total bait and switch. It's ridiculous. And now here we have ISIS be growing. Apparently they're making $2 million a day selling oil. And what does the U.S. do? They blow up the oil fields instead of, issuing sanctions against the oil companies, against the banks, taking care of, following the money trail and cutting off the head of the snake. No, they just blow up the oil fields. Why? Because then we can go in, Halliburton can get the contract to rebuild the infrastructure. Yeah. So, I don't know, it's pretty crazy. So I just wanted to play this one little clip for you by Truth in Media here. So let's check this out.
Meanwhile, the White House and military leaders are talking about possible boots on the ground in Iraq again, only 3 years after the war in Iraq was declared over. In fact, this war, according to former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, could last for decades.
We're looking at kind of a 30-year war kind of history here.
So who exactly is ISIS, and where did they come from?
It's entirely a creation of the United States' behavior in Iraq. That's how we got to where we are, because of war, because of occupation, because of torture.
For answers, we traveled to Los Angeles to meet with Angela Keaton, the founder of antiwar.com.
We destabilized and wrecked Iraq. I mean, it caused it to fail miserably, and that's entirely the responsibility of the United States government. There's no one else at fault there. I mean, as horrible as Saddam Hussein was, Iraq was not unstable. It was a functioning country as much as those sorts of things go, and it was not a particularly horrible hellhole if you were a religious minority.
To understand where ISIS...
So, pretty interesting. I highly recommend it. Once again, it is The Origins of ISIS by Ben Swann. Truth in Media. This has been Dave with another episode of And Another Thing. Peace out, people.